The LA Chargers went big this offseason and put themselves in a position to not just win the AFC West, but to find themselves all the way in the Super Bowl.
Perfect.
So last season, the combination of new head coach Brandon Staley and quarterback Justin Herbert was good enough to put the Chargers just one win shy of going to the AFC playoff. A tough road loss at the very end of the season to the Las Vegas Raiders just narrowly kept them out of the playoff window. But even after last season, there was a lot to like about this Los Angeles Chargers squad, and they had plenty of work to do going into this offseason. But I would argue that the LA Chargers have done the most this offseason and made the most successful moves this offseason to put themselves in a great position walking into this 2022 NFL season. And let's just get things started really quickly with their offseason trades and free agent signings. First and foremost, their huge splash move this offseason in free agency coming after the signing of cornerback J.C. Jackson, formerly of the New England Patriots. J.C. Jackson, in his first 4 NFL seasons, has a combined 25 interceptions, putting him on pace with some NFL greats, guys like Deion Sanders even. And J.C. Jackson has proven to be one of the NFL's better lockdown, shutdown outside corners. After Stephon Gilmore saw some injuries and then his departure to the Carolinas, J.C. Jackson absolutely stepped up for this New England Patriots squad, even was a deadly threat opposite of Gilmore when Gilmore was healthy. And going to the LA Chargers, a team that has had some issues in the secondary outside of maybe Derwin James, is going to absolutely bolster and give this secondary some youth that it absolutely needs. J.C. Jackson still in the prime years of his career. I think he has a huge amount of potential still within Brandon Staley's system that is a lot more aggressive and plays very well to what J.C. Jackson brings to the table, that being a press cover corner style that again just neutralizes wide receivers off the line of scrimmage. J.C. Jackson has developed into one of the, again, better cornerbacks in the entire NFL. He got absolutely paid this offseason, a huge splash signing, and honestly, he's going to work really well opposite of guys like Asante Samuel Jr., as well as defensive back Derwin James, and even Nasir Adderley, as well as their draft pick during this NFL draft period, which I'm going to touch on a little bit later. So the other huge trade, offseason move, if you will, that the LA Chargers had was the acquisition via trade for defensive end edge rusher Khalil Mack from the Chicago Bears, the former Oakland Raider, the former Defensive Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. Khalil Mack is a future NFL Hall of Fame that's going to bring a huge amount of edge presence to this LA Chargers defense. Brandon Staley knew exactly what he was doing going out and getting Khalil Mack because it puts opposing offensive lines, especially against quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and Derek Carr within his own division, on their toes. Put the offensive tackles on their heels, more like it, as you've got Joey Bosa on one edge, Jerry Tillery, who's developed into a very solid interior presence for this LA Chargers team in the inside. And then you've also got, again, Khalil Mack coming off of the edge. Khalil Mack, again, future Hall of Famer, one of the more disruptive pass rushers in the NFL when he's on the field and when he is healthy. And he's missed a little bit of time lately and hasn't been quite as effective due to some injuries. But now that he's out of Chicago and a much more aggressive style defense that, again, Brandon Staley likes to use, as we saw with his time with the Los Angeles Rams, turning Aaron Donald into, again, a future Hall of Famer. I'm really excited to see what this signing is going to do for this LA Chargers defense. It allows the secondary to be a lot more aggressive with outside wide receivers. And if this pass rush gets home pretty effectively and pretty often, you're going to see this LA Chargers defense stepping up big time, making some huge plays, and in large part to the signing of Khalil Mack. Moving off of trades and free agency, let's go right into the draft with their first round pick, Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College. I had talked a little bit about Zion Johnson earlier this offseason when I was talking about the Las Vegas Raiders and their potential offseason moves. I thought that Zion Johnson might have gone a little bit later in the first round, but I absolutely love this pick for the LA Chargers that, again, are trying to build a stalwart offensive line in front of Justin Herbert. Zion Johnson is a monstrous interior presence that has great advantage in the running game. His ability to move on the interior, just completely neutralize interior defensive linemen, was almost second to none within this year's NFL draft. I really like this Zion Johnson pick for the LA Chargers. Again, it's just a bolstering of the offensive line and adds to an aspect of their game that might not have been as present as maybe it could have been last season, especially the running game. Again, I really like what Zion Johnson brings in the running game. He's still very solid as a pass protector. Maybe that's what they're going to be working on with him quite a bit this offseason. However, Zion Johnson, again, one of the better interior offensive linemen within this year's NFL draft. I really like this pick for the Los Angeles Chargers. And if you're a guy like Austin Eckler, you're going to love rushing behind Zion Johnson, who can move, again, very well in space. You put him out into some packages where he swings out and is able to attack linebackers and guys in the secondary. He's going to eat those guys up. I think the offensive line in general gets better with this pick. Justin Herbert's protection gets better with this pick, and their running game gets even better with this pick. And then in round 3, the addition of JT Woods, the safety out of Baylor, a playmaking safety out of Baylor that has an eye for the football. Was able to create a number of turnovers for the Baylor Bears during his time there. And I think he's going to rotate very nicely with guys like Derwin James as well as Nasir Adderley. JT Woods, again, a round 3 pick, maybe not a day 1 starter, but he is going to push Nasir Adderley for that starting safety spot. I wouldn't be shocked if we're going to be seeing these guys rotate quite a bit. Nasir Adderley, a very solid safety, but the more the merrier, in my opinion, when it comes to this Chargers defense. The more weapons that are going to be able to attack the ball, keep pressure on quarterbacks, and just play effective football in general is what Brandon Staley is going to be looking for. A press and aggressive defense is the name of the game for this LA Chargers team that wants to keep putting the ball back in the hands of their offense and Justin Herbert. And then in round 4, they went out and got a running back, Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M, one of the better running backs out of the SEC this year. Spiller, very similarly to CJ Spiller, has a bit of a shiftiness to him and is able to run the ball effectively between the tackles. He kind of reminds me of, obviously, a former CJ Spiller, but a little bit of a James White, if you will. Very shifty in the open field, can make defenders miss, and honestly is going to be a nice addition to this running game, to this backfield. I wouldn't be shocked if he's pushing Joshua Kelly for that running back 2 role. I wouldn't be shocked if we're seeing him in some nice packages with this LA Chargers offense. And if he's able to catch passes out of the backfield, again, just wouldn't be shocked if he plays a very similar role to James White in New England. I think there's a little bit of a physical comp there, but honestly, I like this pick, getting some more depth into a backfield that honestly could have used it. So the off-season additions out of the way, let's take a look ahead and predict what the LA Chargers can do with their NFL regular season schedule. Again, I've kind of talked about it. I think their expectations are absolutely high, but let's just run through the first half, predict, and then the second half and predict, and let's give some more conclusive ideas. So the first half of the season, weeks 1 through 9, starting the season off against the Las Vegas Raiders at home, then the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, Jacksonville at home, Houston Texans back on the road, then on the road again to Cleveland, then versus the Denver Broncos, versus the Seattle Seahawks, their bye week, and then finishing out that first 9-week stretch at the Atlanta Falcons. And this feels like it could be a very hot start to the NFL season for the LA Chargers. I'm predicting maybe 6 to 7 wins within this stretch. I think they might catch a few teams off guard. They're going to be a lot more aggressive than they were last year, and maybe missing the playoffs last year is going to open up that schedule a little bit more for them and give them a few more opportunities to win. I like the start of the season for the LA Chargers. I think it's going to be a very strong start. And now let's look ahead to the second half of the season at San Francisco to start things off, then versus the Chiefs at home, then on the road twice at the Arizona Cardinals, and then the Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Raiders, and then the Miami Dolphins back at home, the Tennessee Titans back at home, on the road versus the Colts, and then at home versus the Rams. There's going to be a really interesting matchup towards the end of the season. Then rounding things out at the end of the season on the road in Denver versus Russell Wilson. Now, this is a little bit more choppy in the second half of the season. Wouldn't be shocked if we see maybe 5 wins here, but 11 to 12 wins is absolutely going to put them in position to win the AFC West. Going to put them right into the playoff hunt. And within that playoff hunt, you've got a number of really good teams this year that could very well find themselves in the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs within their own division. The Buffalo Bills are going to be a very solid contender, a very solid team. I think the Tennessee Titans still have room. They were the #1 seed last year in the AFC. I think they still have room to do things. And of course, the Cincinnati Bengals being one of the better teams in the NFL as well. Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati Bengals offensive line got a lot better. It means the rest of the team's going to get a lot better. But I think it's very fair to expect this Chargers team is a playoff or bust type of squad. I think the ownership, the GM, the head coach, everybody at the Chargers organization is expecting this team to at least make the playoffs this year. I think they could maybe even win a playoff game this year. And the crazy thing is, though, the AFC as a whole just got a lot more tough this past offseason. So it's anybody's race, really, in my opinion, but I think the Chargers are right there in the thick of it. So, all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching the video. I know I took a week off last week. Life just keeps you busy. Life's a little bit more hectic these days. However, I still want to keep uploading videos. I want to still keep bringing you guys content, the ones who actually stick around and watch all the way to the end. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. My name is Tristan Blake Rines, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Adios.